Good morning, members of the State Board of Education, State Commissioner, and team. My name is Dr. Andre Townsell, Superintendent and CEO of Hartford Public Schools, 330 Weathersfield Avenue. In Hartford, our students are achieving every single day, and our educators are working hard every day to accelerate learning. And despite significant challenges, progress is happening. Since arriving in Hartford Public Schools, I inherited 4 separate reports placed on my desk. Not one identified financial mismanagement. Every report pointed at the same issue, a long-standing structural deficit that has existed for more than a decade. We have remained consistent and transparent about that reality since October 2025. Over the last decade, Hartford Public School has cut to over $200 million and lost 600 jobs. We knew we could not continue to balance budgets on the backs of children and staff anymore. At the same time, we have worked aggressively within our locus of control. In December, Hartford Public Schools received recognition for improvements in financial management from CSDE. Our mid-year data showed improvement across every major metric. We are earning families back to our schools because we believe that our families deserve the best thing possible. Also, we're sharing information like the Hartford Promise, which says if you live in the city of Hartford, graduate from a Hartford public school with a 3.0 grade point average and a 93% attendance rate, you are guaranteed up to a $100,000 scholarship for a college of your choice across the country. However, there are structural barriers standing in the way of continued progress. First, Hartford Public Schools has been faced with resistance for promoting Hartford Public Schools and programs like the Hartford Promise, despite other educational entities and advertising broadly throughout the city. Families deserve to know what Hartford Public Schools offer as well and understand what Hartford does well. I was told specifically that I cannot promote Hartford Public Schools. Second, public statements suggested that Hartford Public Schools had a surplus here at this meeting, and that created confusion and mistrust at a time when we were advocating honestly about our deficits. No outreach was made to myself as a superintendent or CEO or our chief financial officer. An audit has since been conducted and it confirmed that we do have a deficit. Now, let's be clear. Someone said we had a $2 million surplus here. We've been saying we had a $22 million deficit. This team triggered an audit and the audit said our deficit is larger than what we've even predicted, which is $29 million. My prayer is that you hear that information when they give an update on our finances here. Third, Hartford recently identified approximately $2.3 million tied to the chef-related open choice grant funding that has not been credited back to Hartford Public Schools over multiple years, meaning schools that take our young people that receive that chef bonus, they kept that and did not give that back to us. We reached out for guidance at the state in good faith, asking for help, and we were told, hey, figure that out, we cannot get involved. These are not isolated incidents. They're examples of structural conditions that continue to place pressure on Hartford Public Schools while our students and educators continue doing everything asked of them.
Please.
I will wrap it up. Two paragraphs right here. If we believe every child deserves opportunity, then the system surrounding them must operate in partnership, transparency, and in good faith. Hartford Public Schools, we're not asking to be saved, we're asking to be invested in. We stand ready to continue to do good work alongside Connecticut, collaboratively, honestly, and urgently, because the future of Hartford's children is too important for anything less. I'll park my bus, thank you.
Being the chair of the Hartford Board of Education, I reflected because I haven't been here in a very long time. Actually, it was well over 10 years ago. And I remember saying that day that I wasn't on the board, I was a parent, and I felt compelled to come here that morning because I rode by schools that I know were not, well, I called it underfunded. And I felt kind of a little sick doing that because I have to ride by those schools in Hartford to get to our nice shiny magnet schools, which I'm not going to pretend that my children have attended and what my youngest currently attends. So that leads into why I'm here today. I support what our superintendent, Dr. Council, stated. We are trying to do our best with providing quality to all of our children. We know, everyone know that Hartford has a substantial amount of magnet schools due to the lawsuit that was brought against the state of Connecticut many decades ago. So we have been audited and we have came, my opinion, from under those audits, saying we're on the right track. One of the audits I feel like we got a slap in the hand saying that we were criticized for leveraging some of the magnet funds, trying to have an equitable system and not having a two-tiered system. But even with that, I think we have shown that we have nothing to hide. We never have. Our books are always open, even to the city of Hartford. We can't even pass a purchase order without it getting cleared through the city. So I wanted to clear up that has been floating around, that our books are closed. We can't spend money without the city of Hartford. They have full access to our system because we are on their system. And another thing, while we have in our magnet schools and some of the prep schools, they've always had co-op teams. We have a lot of high schools, so it's a way, and some suburban schools, I believe, have co-op teams too. So we've been criticized for that, but we're not doing anything different than any other district as to working hard, trying to be fiscally responsible to provide a quality of education, not just to our magnet school students, but letting our neighborhood schools know that they are absolutely important. And lastly, I do have to squeeze in there. The danger of the talk around closing public schools, that gives away the charter schools. I am not a proponent for charter schools. And when you guys sit and you have hard decisions to make. I don't envy you for that, but just make sure that those mandates, which a lot of the times they're unfunded, that are for public schools, that those mandates are also for charter schools, because they are not under some of those same things that we have to do. So we're bogged down with having to find funding to fulfill a mandate that comes out of the legislature, but charter schools, because of how it's worded, they get to skip that. But it is an uprising of people lobbying and approaching certain communities about charter schools, because when you have these empty school buildings, because they're not short of money. They come here and pretend and they try to force you guys to fund them. But please pay attention to the unfunded mandates that charter schools do not have to abide by. Thank you.
The final two speakers for public participation are Dr. Royce Avery and Joseph Spolovic.
Good morning. Thank you guys for having me here this morning. I come sending greetings and thank yous because I think it's important that this work is very tedious work, but I want to thank Commissioner Russell Tucker for her leadership to really guide this district in the transformation that it's making now. Dr. Hughes, for your leadership and your guidance and your steady, making sure that the district is going in the right direction, so I appreciate that. The two state technical assistance teams, Public Works, I think they've done a super job. They just came into the district a couple of months ago, really making sure that process and procedures are documented and put out so that we can be more transparent. Into the technical assistance team under the direction of Dave Irwin has really been boots on the ground for the district. And I think it's been really pleasing to have someone to guide the work, experience in Connecticut, policy and in procedures and things like that, and just overall, the guidance that they have given me. I also want to thank my Board of Education. I came into this district almost 3 years ago as the deputy superintendent, and I've been leading this district for the last year and a half as the interim school superintendent. And so it's important that, they've given me a chance to be able to do the work. I also want to thank, the mayor, the city council, the state delegation, and ultimately the community of Bridgeport. I think the change is resonating. I think the change that the city so desperately need is upon us. So it's a great opportunity to, I welcome the support that I'm getting and has been given. And I think it really sets things apart about what needs to happen. We're focused now. My board is on board trying to get the things accomplished for children of the district. And I can tell you, the students, they're amazing. If you push them, you give kids the opportunity to prevail. I've had, several, around 10 students come to testify, and they've made me proud. They made the community proud. So as long as and when I tell my board, when I tell my community, as long as you could support and provide that guidance to the children, they will step up and do the job. So I'm very, very pleased to where we are. We have a lot more work to do. I will continue and support additional support you can give us because we have a lot to do. When you look at a large urban school district, you have to pace yourself. And again, this is not my first rodeo. I tell my staff, and they say, "Okay, it's not." I'm a retired school superintendent. I came out of retirement to do this work, and I intend to do it. I'm a collegiate athlete. I don't like to lose, and Bridgeport's not going to lose, not anymore. It's not under my reign. So I appreciate the support. It's been phenomenal, and I thank you for that. Thank the board for taking the recommendations from the commissioner and providing that guidance. That's what sometimes district needs, and so we're there. We're excited. We're ready for additional work to be done. We're still working on the financial pieces a little bit, but we're close. And I'm excited about that. So again, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Joseph Titalovic. I live at 334 Burnsford Avenue, Bridgeport, Connecticut. I'm speaking here today as an individual, not as the vice chair of the Board of Education. It will become clear why in a moment. The opinions are my own and the facts belong to everyone. I come before you today to ask a very simple question. Why should any school district trust the state of Connecticut and voluntarily subject itself to treatment that Bridgeport Public Schools and Hartford Public Schools have been subjected to? 1 year ago, Bridgeport Public Schools was authorized $5 million by the General Assembly. Funding that was passed into law, approved, publicly presented as an investment in our students. And yet to this day, Bridgeport has not received those funds. Not because they don't exist, but because the state placed conditions on their release, requiring approval from fiscal oversight bodies before a single dollar reaches our classrooms. They're not there. So let's be clear about what this means. Even when funding is written into law, it is still not guaranteed to be delivered. At the same time, the state is asking districts to voluntarily enter into fiscal intervention and oversight under Section 388. But that voluntary program comes with strings attached. Once a district enters, it becomes subject to binding state control, oversight by the Municipal Accountability Review Board, and mandatory compliance with state-directed financial plans. And what funding is written explicitly into the bill? None. There is no guaranteed investment, no defined dollar amount, no commitment to stabilize the very financial conditions that trigger intervention. The only funding in the framework is the $3 million for the state itself to administer the program. So districts are being asked to give up autonomy, accept control, and restructure operations without a guarantee of a single dollar in return. Now layer on to that what we are seeing in practice. In Bridgeport, local government decisions such as how to responsibly stabilize leadership have been pressured as second guessed, including warnings from the State Department of Education that failure to meet imposed timelines could result in the commissioner unilaterally appointing a superintendent. In Hartford, the narrative shifted from surplus to deficits, but the correction is not matching the original cronies. Now, ironically, both districts are led by African-American men. That matters because it raises real questions about potential biases, fairness, and how narratives are shaped and applied. One wanted to ask if these If these districts were run by white males, would this body question the numbers and threaten to replace the superintendent? Trust is not built on legislation, it's built on delivery. And right now, the message is to districts is this: even if funding is approved, even if oversight is accepted, even if compliance is met, there is still no guarantee that resources will follow. Bridgeport is still waiting on the $5 million that was already passed into law. While our children wait, they suffer costs that could have been avoided and could be avoided next year. The state of Connecticut has caused needless $5 million in additional costs to our Black and brown children by refusing them to approve funding but failing to deliver it. And I'm going to name what wasn't named by the last by some of the speakers. This is institutional racism at its worst. We need to do better. Thank you.